What's up, everyone, and welcome in to the Tuesday, March 21st edition of the PWTorch Fireside Chat right here on the PWTorch YouTube channel. What's going on, guys? I'm PWTorch Assistant Editor Zack Heydorn. Super pumped to be here. Lots to talk about, and thank you for joining me. As always, I certainly appreciate it. Yesterday was therapeutic to be on the YouTube channel talking with you guys. It's been a while, and so it was good to be back yesterday. It's good to be back today as well. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. Would help us out a ton, and I think you'd be happy in doing so. So that you know when we're live, and you know of all the great content that we're posting each and every single day. We are live around this time of day every day during the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We got Raw covered. We do an NXT preview. We have our big AEW day on Wednesday. Thursday is our Fireside Chat, the flagship edition of the show, where Tyler Sage and I talk live with you about all the happenings in wrestling for that week. And then Friday, we're taking a look at SmackDown and the weekend ahead in pro wrestling. So lots of good stuff. We have some really fun stuff planned for WrestleMania and the WrestleMania week, which we'll talk about more later this week. But hit subscribe so you don't miss any of that. Hit the little notification button as well, so you know right when we go live. And that way you won't miss anything here in the next coming weeks. Azan, welcome to the live chat. I certainly appreciate it. Hazan, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I hope you can too. Hopefully you didn't have problems. You can might as well take care of it now. Wrote a book, and it's on Steve Austin. I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but you can pick it up now. It's available for pre-order from Hybrid Shoot. If you go to my Twitter page at @ZHeydornTorch, you can check that out and get yourself a pre-order copy of the book. It's really, I really hope that you do, and I appreciate the support in advance. Again, it's a book about the artistry of Steve Austin. And I start at the beginning of his career, and I go to the very end of his career, the match with Kevin Owens, and everything in between, and look at the art of all his matches, promos, different segments. It's all there, and I'm extremely excited to share that with you. So, hopefully you don't have trouble if you want to get your hands on it. Again, if you go to @ZHeydornTorch on Twitter, it's right there at the top of my Twitter feed, pinned to the top. You can find a link to grab an e-copy or a paperback copy of the book. So I appreciate it, Hazan. Thank you. With that said, let's talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw last night. It was. And we're going to do both. We're going to talk about Raw here, and then we're going to preview NXT as well. Raw, I thought, had some really high highs and some pretty low lows when it comes to the show in general, but also when it comes to building WrestleMania up. You look at what the Bloodline is doing and the story that's there, and the story that's there coming out of WrestleMania, regardless of the outcome, whether or not the Usos win or lose, whether or not Roman Reigns wins or loses, like they've got a story ready to go to continue on, to keep that Bloodline deal going and moving forward. I think that's really cool. It was a great call to start the show this week with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Like, capitalize on the momentum that you had coming out of SmackDown. You had this big moment. You built over weeks and weeks to this moment of the reuniting of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and you go with it again Monday night. I think, I don't want to make this like an AEW or WWE discussion, but that's like a trick of the trade that I think AEW could really utilize more effectively, is making some of their big angles and their big moments stand out, and just because of how they're followed up on. And I thought WWE followed up on it really, really well this week. They came out right out of the gate. They set the tone for the show. They cut a fun promo that let the fans in. They were able to balance like being happy that they're reunited, but also not running away from the history that they've had together and the history that they've had with the Bloodline. And then in the end, they got right to it, and they got to the tag team title match at WrestleMania. So thumbs up for me on that. Let's see. Amos checking in on Raw. Thanks for joining us, Amos. It's been a long time, if ever, that the third hour was pretty close to being the best hour of the show. Yeah, agree. And Zach in Texas. Zach, appreciate you. Thanks for joining us. Glad you're doing this because I need someone to explain to me what the hell they're doing with Cody and Roman. No, Usos and Cody didn't mention wanting to end the bloodline, even though he mentioned the bloodline ending. I guess I'm not really understanding your question there. Can you frame that up and ask it again? I mean, I think Cody outlined. Well, we'll get to Cody in a minute. We'll get to Cody. I will get to this, Zach. But what do you guys think? They're finally at the place where the bloodline is in matches at WrestleMania. It's official now. We've got Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens against the Usos for the tag titles. And, of course, we've got Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. We're there. This is good, right? I mean, I know there was some trepidation from a lot of people. Not, and Zach, I know you're one of them. But from a lot of people on, okay, is this Cody-Sami thing? How's it going to play out? And I think what you have here, if you're looking at it fairly, is you've got two really hot stories going into the biggest show of the year with the biggest stars collectively that the company has had in 2022 and for the early part of 2023. I mean, you look around and the people who are in the biggest matches on this show, WrestleMania, have had the best years, and I think that's where you want to be for WrestleMania. And I thought we finally got that definitive spot. You didn't have any kind of Sami Zayn chants ringing in, into the Cody Rhodes segment. Sami is doing his thing. He's popular as ever. Same thing with Kevin Owens. They have a big main event level match that they're going to do at WrestleMania, and Cody and Roman are going to do the same thing. This Raw being the definitive moment where that kind of was planted into place, I thought made it very, very memorable. Now, let's talk about that promo segment from from the end of the show, the main event segment. How good was that? I loved it. Yesterday on the show, if you joined us, one of the things I said that had to be accomplished was Cody Rhodes had to come across at Roman Reigns' level. Like that first promo on SmackDown was a building block to this promo. If this promo was done effectively, you could get away with that first promo of him kind of, feeling his way out in the ring with Roman Reigns and Roman Reigns kind of running them down. But this promo had to be definitive, aggressive Cody Rhodes. And a Cody Rhodes that's going to swing back at Reigns verbally. And you got that. And more than that, you had the babyface in Cody outline what Roman Reigns' world is going to be like and what it could look like if he loses the championship to him at WrestleMania. That puts a whole nother level of stakes on the match. So it's not just for the Undisputed Universal Championship anymore. Really, like Roman's position as the tribal chief is on the line in this match too. So they both now have a personal mission for the match. It's not just the title. That's the mechanism for it to all go. But I like that Cody, as the babyface, called out the fact, man-to-man, face-to-face in the ring, that, hey, you're afraid of that. You're insecure about losing that power over people in your family. You're afraid of losing this title, and I'm gonna take it from you. So I thought that was just very, very well done, like all the way through. Cody sold it well. Roman, man, that guy he's just been perfect. If he doesn't sell those words right, with the right facial expression, the right look on his face, or just the right kind of with the right body language, it falls on deaf ears. He had to visually be stung by what Cody said, and not stung like, oh, it shocked him, but stung in a way that had him doubt himself and had him doubt his control over the bloodline, and have him doubt himself as as somebody who might lose the championship, and he conveyed that without having to say a word. And I think that was the key to getting this right. And he did. So I think this was a very good segment for the build. I think you could have probably, like, I don't know what they have planned for next or for this. Well, I know Friday Cody Rhodes is going to wrestle. I don't know what they have in store for WrestleMania week in terms of build here, but they've got 3 more shows left. They've got SmackDown this Friday, Raw next week, and SmackDown next week before WrestleMania. And so, I think you could have ended the build with this promo, because it was essentially a go home babyface promo, just without like the fieriness. I think we're still going to get that from Cody, but this could have served in that role because of what it put on the line for the heel in Roman Reigns. Now, I would have stayed away for sure from the meta stuff, the getting over stuff. I'm not sure the use in talking about Cody running away, like that's kind of like you're kind of painting your baby face as weak in that situation. So I don't understand like the choice of going down that road if you're Roman Reigns in that scenario. And I certainly just don't like the meta stuff of using the term getting over. But I think this promo was effective and efficient regardless of that. And it made for some really good stuff. Let's get to the chat here. Zach commenting again. That's just it, Zach. It's one story. Cody should be talking about wanting to end the bloodline and Roman's impressive run and working with Sami and KO. Well, he is. I mean, he did. Like he outlined specifically what it's going to be like for Roman and how the bloodline's going to fall to pieces once he wins the world title from him. I mean, I thought that was pretty. Everybody else in the chat, jump on in if you all are disagreeing with me on this, but I thought it was pretty apparent. Like that's exactly what they were going for. Like it is collectively one. Like it's part of the bigger bloodline story. Cody's playing a part of that, and I think we're going to see the bloodline crumble a little bit here. And I think that was put out there during this promo. So yeah, I think that, or maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're writing there, Zach. But to me, yes, it's part of one bigger story. It's the bloodline story. There's lots of different pieces of it. There's lots of parts moving around, and this was successful in moving forward one of those parts. So yeah, thumbs up. Mazan jumping in, it teases Solo versus Roman in the future, and Cody looks good. Yeah, it did. You have that match on the line. You also have Cody and Solo on the line at some point. If you want to go to that, maybe that's something that they do, on Raw next week. Something like that would make sense to go to that match. Yes, Solo's going to have to take a pin unless they do some kind of like distraction finish or some kind of DQ type angle. But like that's a match you could go to, and I think that's a good kind of WrestleMania week match potentially too. Amos chiming in, the part I'm enjoying is that they're doing this without getting physical. It should be saved for the last minute, if not until the match itself. 100% agree on this. This is the WrestleMania main event, and I think part of the hook for this, outside of just the story that they've been telling and the bloodline story that's been going on for so long now, and has been so compelling for so long now. Part of this is you are seeing Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes wrestle for the first time. Like there's a novelty there that I think is important to maintain. Like that's part of the hook. That's what people want to see. I don't think you should be giving that away like in a tag match or 6-man tag or even like a brawl, right? Maybe you can have the bloodline collectively beat up Cody to get some heat on Roman and get some heat on the bloodline, and maybe have Roman throws in a chair shot or something like that. But you don't want to see them like get really physical against one another before the match, because that's part of the hook of the match. And so they have been very efficient in building this match without having to play those cards. Dr. Ross, hello. Agreed. Good stuff from Roman. I doubt we would have seen that vulnerability if Cena had been in that position. Yeah, Cena didn't show vulnerability in the same way very much. he was kind of like more just open to getting like beat. And I think one of the problems with Cena was that he didn't really sell well on the back end. If he lost a big match or he was beat up the week before, then you didn't have him come out and selling that long term. Roman did. I mean, you felt those comments hit home for him, as in like, yes, boy, that's gonna make me think. I'm thinking more now than I was before that point. And if you don't sell that, Charlotte Flair, I think, is a culprit here, where she rarely, sells during a promo segment, right? Like a lot of times, like in those segments with Rhea Ripley, we'll talk about Rhea here in a minute, but in the SmackDown segments with Rhea Ripley, especially that first one that they had a couple weeks ago, you have Charlotte just standing there, just standing tall in the ring, almost like, smirking at Rhea as she's talking. And she's kind of has this hard exterior, and she kind of looks like a badass when she's doing it, but there's no narrative there because of that. There's no back and forth. There's no, man, we don't know how Charlotte feels about this. And as a babyface, it's really important to do that. But as a heel, it's important to do that at the right times too. Roman has that down pat. It's fantastic. DK, as someone who doesn't watch WWE, and I just get all my info from the Torch, well, you came to the right place, DK. Appreciate you. It sounds like Cody does so much better in a structured environment. He does. I mean, I think he does. I think that's clear. He's not going off into his own Codyverse world tangents. Like, he's reined in. He has writers. He's got Triple H. He's got agents. Like he's got a writer team that's writing this stuff for him. That's, I think, important for him. Some people can't do well with kind of just off the cuff stuff on their own in pro wrestling. Like, some people just can't do that. Some people want a script and they want to know what to say, and then they'll say it the right way. I think Cody needs more of that. He needs more of that direction. I think it's clear, not just from Monday, but from his whole WWE run to this point, that has benefited him. That structure has benefited him greatly. Yeah, Zach, I mean, we're going to disagree on this. Roman burying Cody for running away from AEW. Maybe it was a favorite part of your promo, but I just don't. Why? Like, why go there? Why go there with it? It makes your babyface weak. And, even if you are not a fan of this Cody thing, like, I think you can agree that it's not good to make your babyfaces weak. Like, that's not what you want to be doing. Azan, thank you for joining us once again. Cody got a leash on him, and he's not booking his own stuff, unlike AEW. Yeah, just mentioned that. Totally, I'm with you there. I agree. I absolutely agree. Okay, also, Monday Night Raw. So those were the high points. Like I said, I started off the show saying that, like, hey, they're like, Raw had its high highs and its low lows. The booking of the women's championship matches at WrestleMania is an absolute mess at the moment. Like, to me, it's pretty eye-opening as to how ineffective these builds have been. Like, man, I mean, like, let's start with Bianca Belair and Asuka. They have this tag team match. They win the match in, like, I don't know, 7-8 minutes. And then you have Asuka just attack Bianca Belair from behind. Like, it is ice cold. I mean, it's just cold. Like, there's no heat behind it. There's nothing interesting going on Asuka's end, where you kind of are learning about her journey to the title. Bianca Belair is not effectively talking about being champion and what it means to be champion going into WrestleMania, and what a win over somebody like Asuka would do for her run and for her career. And it's all missing. It's all so flat right now. And, like, that match is one thing, because I don't think Bianca Belair versus Asuka is slated as, hey, this is one of the top matches on the show. I think it's like a middle of the card title match on the show. So it can be a little more, it can be weaker in terms of build. But you go to the SmackDown side of things, and Rhea Ripley, Royal Rumble winner, enters at number 1, goes the distance, challenges Charlotte Flair, and my goodness, like you put her in a situation last night that was completely unfathomable to me. Like Rhea Ripley's the heel going into this. She's walking around alongside Dominic Mysterio, the guy who's beating up his dad and calling out his mother and wanting to have a match against his own father at WrestleMania. Like this guy can't, excuse me, Rhea Ripley can't be walking alongside this guy as like some kind of tweener babyface. And the last night on the show, Rhea Ripley's going up against Bayley. And not only is she facing Bayley, who's also a heel, and a heel that has a big match against babyfaces at WrestleMania, against legends at WrestleMania, Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, and Lita. But it's also like a 3-on-1 match too. It's not 3-on-1, but it's Damage Control. So it's Rhea Ripley against Bayley, and Dakota Kai and Io Sky are there too. So I don't know what possibly could be the point of that. Like it just totally stunts the build to Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte by putting Rhea in that situation. Charlotte Flair is going to have a hard enough time getting cheered as it is as a babyface. I wrote this for my column at PWTorch.com about Raw last night in my receipt column. It's up now if you guys want to check it out. She is going to have a rough time at WrestleMania getting cheered as a babyface. Charlotte Flair is not a good babyface. Just not. And I think there's a genuine kind of like attachment to Rhea Ripley because most people that are watching now have seen her from the very beginning, like come up. They've seen her from the Mae Young Classic all the way through NXT UK, through NXT, onto the main roster. She had like kind of a slow start on the main roster, and then she found herself as this heel with Dominic. There's a nice story there. And if you're not going to lean into that story entirely with Rhea as a babyface, and they clearly aren't, because again, as I mentioned, she's walking out there with Dominic. Like, he's a heel. And one of the most jeered heels that they have. If you're not going to lean into that, you have to go the other way. You have to do everything you can to make sure that she doesn't get cheered at all. And putting her in the ring against Bayley, of all people, and then having the babyface legend team essentially even the odds for her as a babyface, it made absolutely no sense, guys. I mean, it really made no sense. And it kind of put a stamp on these women's title matches they're not good. They're really not good right now. And they need to do a lot. Like I said, especially with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. If that's going to main event night one, I mean, which I would not agree with. I think you're making the wrong call if you do that. And potentially hurting your night two main event, Cody and Roman. If you don't put the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in that main event slot, but if you want to even think about putting Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley there, you have to have a good 10 days of build for this feud, and it's just not there. It's just not there right now. It's not there right now. And last night was a perfect example of it. And it's almost like last night they wanted to use the show to cool it off so that they wouldn't have to maybe put it in that slot. It made no sense for them to do what they're doing. I'd love to hear from somebody inside the company as to what the thought process was there, because boy, it certainly was confusing to me. Let's head to the chat. Here. Tracy jumping in and going. Tracy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. From my listening, it seems all the creative is in the bloodline story and the interns got the women's stories right. I mean, I can't confirm that, obviously, Tracy, but it certainly feels that way. It feels that way because the women have nothing that they can really hold on to as far as like good storylines in either one of their title matches. It's very disappointing. Zach jumping in is on the Outcast versus OGs is a very good story. While both Mania women's title matches are a hot mess. Yeah, I mean, I think the Outcast with the OGs, that's fine. That's going to be what it is. That I don't think you need to give that much juice at this point. like that already has history, that already has, heat. You already have clear, defined lines, with the good guys, bad guys. Like that doesn't need much, but the title matches do, and they're not getting nearly enough. Bayley shouldn't have been losing. The last thing Damage Control needed was to lose more heat. That too. Great point, Zach. It's not just about Rhea Ripley, but you can't have Rhea Ripley lose either. So, and you don't want Bayley to lose. She's got a big WrestleMania match. Rhea's got a big WrestleMania match. Like, put someone else in there. You know what I mean? Like, there has got to be another random babyface on the roster in the women's division that that can do that job. Mia Yim, like, she's on the roster still, I believe. Like, she's a babyface. Have her do that job to Rhea Ripley. I mean, it just made no sense for either of those women to be in that match, and for Bayley to lose. It's not good. Let's see here. Charlotte and Rhea should not main event WrestleMania night 1. Yes, we know that. Let's see. Anything else that I missed here? Amos jumping in. It does seem that the way it looks now, almost all the titles are going to switch hands this year. Yeah, I think they're going to be surprised, Amos, on that. All of them could. I mean, all of them could. I don't know that I'm taking the title off of Bianca at this point. Like, it's nothing against Asuka. It's just that is such an ice cold thing that, like, beating Bianca Belair after she's had a year title reign, that means something. And I think you want the person that's beating her to mean something. And Asuka, I just don't think has been rejuvenated enough as a character to get the most out of that win at this point. So I think that one is going to be there. And yeah, and Azan says too, Gunther too, walking out as IC champion. Yeah, I think he needs to win that one as well. All right, keep the Raw comments coming. Keep the Raw comments coming. I'll make sure to get to them here throughout as we preview NXT. It's going to be a short preview because NXT this week. Real quick, good comment, Dr. Ross. Shirley Theory retains. I would imagine so. Yes. Kind of depends on how long they have Cena for. Like, can you get another match out of him? Can you do a rematch at Backlash? I mean, it totally depends on Cena's schedule and whether he wants to or not. I don't see the value in it, though. I still think you want Theory to go over and to go over strong and beat Cena. Like, I think that's the play. So I think you're right. Good call out for sure, Dr. Ross. Okay, back to NXT. So not a great showing for the show tonight. What they have announced is it's like, I don't know, kind of like AEW Dark levels of matches. It's no I just don't say it. It's a pretty weak show with their biggest event of the year, Stand and Deliver, coming up here in just about 10 days. We've got Ilya Dragunov versus Jamie D. McDonough. Should be a hell of a match. No doubt about it. Should be a hell of a match. But it's middle of the card NXT stuff. Like, and this is, I think, is going to be the main event tonight. So yeah, I mean, the story is these guys have injured one another. There's a blood feud here, but that's about it. So it's kind of a weak match. I think Dragunov is going to take it. He's the baby face. Neither one of these guys is going to be the face of NXT anytime soon, and neither one of them should. So it's kind of like a ho-hum main event, if you ask me. We also have 2 women's championship Stand and Deliver ladder match qualifiers tonight. We've got Tiffany Stratton versus Indy Hartwell, and we have Ivy Nile versus Lyra Valkyria. What do you like this whole thing with Roxanne Perez and her passing out in the ring? Very, very bizarre to me. Like, is Roxanne Perez not going to be on the show? Not going to be on Stand and Deliver? Like, it seems like if this was going to be some kind of angle, like, you'd see it pay off so that Roxanne Perez, one of the biggest stars that the NXT brand has right now, can be on the biggest PLE that NXT does throughout the year. And it just doesn't seem like that they're positioning themselves that way with this, because they've got this ladder match built. So Yeah, it's a bit intriguing, I must say, just to kind of see where they go with this. But I'm surprised that Roxanne Perez is not going to be on this show, Stand and Deliver. That's just what I think. And like the ladder match, a little risky, if you ask me. A little risky, if you ask me. I mean, you've got some people in here that are very new to wrestling, on television. Tiffany Stratton, Ivy Nile, like, you obviously they're going to make sure that this goes off, but you don't have those veteran wrestlers at this time kind of holding down that match to Stand and Deliver. We'll talk about that when it comes time to preview that show. But again, both those matches, nothing really stands out as far as those go for tonight's show. And then the last thing that they're promoting, as of right now on WWE.com is Chase U and Schism in a great debate. Oh my gosh, is anybody else worried about that as much as I am? My goodness, again, doesn't scream, hey, we got to drop what we're doing on Tuesday night to watch this show. It just does not do that. Boy, yeah, tough stuff. Call me crazy. I'm not a fan of either of those teams. Chase U, one trick pony of an act, if you ask me. Like, there's some cute stuff that they do, with the calling out the letters and, when Andre Chase swears at his students, it's pretty funny. But I think once you take them out of that, how many different times can you do something like that before it gets really, really old? And I think they've already gotten there. Again, it's cute. It can be funny. But can it be serious? Absolutely not. And I don't, it's just a weird group to be going up against Schism, which is also kind of like this comedy dark group that hasn't found its footing either. So I don't think this is going to be a very efficient segment for these factions, but we'll see. We will have to see when it's all said and done on NXT tonight. But that's it, though. That's the show. That's what they're promoting. And I mean, surely we're going to get something with Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes. I think we'll get probably a promo segment of some kind. But man, yeah, I don't. My prediction is that this is not do so well when the ratings come in. Over to the chat we go. Let's see here. Zach with a comment on, Zach again, man. I don't agree with this. Like, Dom should have for sure won. Like, Johnny Gargano is nothing on the main roster right now. I mean, he just isn't. That's fact. As LA Knight would say, that's just a fact of life. Like, he's just not. He's a role player at best. And the fact is, Dom, when you listen to his crowd reactions, he's, gets better reactions than Gargano does regularly. So I think you absolutely had him win. He's going to have a match against Rey Mysterio, like the night after Rey goes into the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania, his dad. Like, that needs to be hot when you get there, and you don't get it hot by Dominic doing jobs to Johnny Gargano. Like, as crazy as that is to say, that's not a position that Gargano's in right now. He doesn't need that. He doesn't need that win. Sean, thanks for joining us, even though it was late. Shame. I'm just kidding. Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate you being here. Azan, Chase U is a guilty pleasure. That's the thing. I think most people that cheer for Chase U would say that. And can a guilty pleasure be like a top act on your show? I don't think so. Call me crazy, but I don't think so. Yeah, Dr. Ross, Dom's not losing again until after WrestleMania. I don't think he will. Like, he's got some big business on the table with Rey. Like, you're not going to do that. So yeah. This will be an interesting debate. Dom will lose at WrestleMania, Zach. He's doing fantastic as a heel. Shouldn't have wrestled Johnny Gargano. Yeah, I mean, if you want to protect Gargano, I mean, you could. But, I mean, he doesn't lose anything by losing that match. I mean, I really believe that. is he going to lose at WrestleMania, Sean and Zach? Like, I think I might argue at this point that Dominic's going to win. Like, Rey, first of all, wrestlers normally go out on their back, right? Like when they're leaving, do the job for somebody else. And while the logical part of this story and the feel good ending to this is like Dominic losing to Rey and Rey beating his son, part of me thinks that Rey wants to lose this match for his son. You know, I mean, imagine the heat that's there. You know, beating Rey Mysterio in maybe his last WrestleMania ever. You know, going in the week he's going into the Hall of Fame. Like, there's some big time heat there, I think. And so I think that you may want to think about Dom winning that match, because there's just a ton of heat there, and it's his son. You know, I mean, how cool is that? You know, you get to put over your son on your way out. Call me crazy, but I think that's on the table for sure. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here. You heard it here first. As I said, Zach, you might refuse to believe it, but I'm telling you, it's a possibility, a strong possibility. Yeah, and even if he cheats to win, Sean, like I think that's still really good. Of course he would cheat to win. He's a heel. He's Dominic Mysterio. Like, he's not winning with some huge awesome move. Like, no. And Zach, I'm sorry, but it is believable that Tom could beat Johnny Wrestling. Gargano is not anything on the main roster right now, guys. Like, he's a good wrestler and he's had good matches, but he's not presented as anything more than somebody that would job to Dominic. Like, bottom line, I think that's where we're at. That's where we're at, whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not. I think that's the situation. That will be a fun match. Honestly, Rey Mysterio against Dominic Mysterio is one of the, you know, if you take out the Bloodline story and those two matches, I think that match is probably the best built match on the show. I mean, it's been a long time coming, and they separated them and they put them back together. I think they've just done a fantastic job with that whole feud, and seeing them wrestle at WrestleMania, father and son, in a serious match, that's going to mean a lot. When I flip over to AEW and you see kind of like the shenanigans going on with the Guns and Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed, it's like, that's not serious enough for me when it's father versus son. Father versus son, I mean, that's serious. That's serious business. That is serious business at hand. And I don't think AEW has treated it that way. I think this storyline with Rey has, part of it is Rey is such a likable character and is so sympathetic as a babyface. That certainly helps things without question. Dom's done his part too, but that match I think is one of the best built things on the card, top to bottom, for the last however many months. So excited to see that thing pay off. All right, folks, we will wrap it up. There. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I do appreciate it. We'll be live again tomorrow for our AEW discussion and our AEW preview, and then Thursday for our flagship edition of the Fireside Chat. If you haven't done so already, check out pre-orders for my new Steve Austin book. It is on the artistry of Steve Austin. So I took a look at his entire career, everything. From the Dallas Sportatorium all the way to his match with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania last year, and looked at the art of it all straight through in chronological order. It was such a fun project to do. You can pre-order the book now from Hybrid Shoot. It's on my Twitter page at the top, Z Heydorn Torch. It would be so nice if you guys help the project out. Grab yourself a copy. I think you'll really appreciate it when you do, and like the project once it's in your hands. It certainly would mean a lot to me. I had such a fun time writing the book and watching the material, and I'm just super excited to get it into your guys' hands. So if you haven't done so and you are able, put your hands on it. Get a pre-order copy right away. Again, you can do so at my Twitter page at ZHeydornTorch right there. Cool. Thanks for the time to plug. I appreciate it. We will see you guys tomorrow live for AEW and our AEW show right here on PWTorch YouTube channel. Thanks so much. We'll catch you guys next time. See you.